So everybody, welcome to a video where I'm talking about how to build a $5 to $10 million a year sales team for your consulting, coaching, or service-based business. So in my company, we're scaling from where we were at about $100,000 a month to we're aiming at $500,000 to $700,000 a month. Okay. And there's been a few key changes that I've had to make in my business to enable this. And I'm going to start with the most important key change that you need if you're at like $50,000 to $100,000 a month and you want to grow to $5 to $10 million a year. And this is the main thing that I see a lot of consultants, service providers, coaches just don't have. And it's just a sustainable, single, scalable traffic channel. Okay, so in the old iteration of my business, we did about $1.5 to $2 million a year, and I had about 65%, 70% profit margins. And it was a great business, and it's what I built my initial wealth with, what I put my first million in the bank with, everything like that. But the problem became I couldn't really control the top of it, and I also just got burnt out with organic. So really, you have to move to some form of paid advertising or paid marketing, and I use Instagram and Instagram shoutouts. If you want to learn how to use that system, I've got a video on the channel that will show you how to do it. Just click the little info bar here on the video. It's going to show up somewhere. Okay, so watch that video first. If you don't have a scalable traffic channel, you're going to want to watch that, because your entire sales team and all of your sales processes in your business are going to be built off of, simply put, how many leads you get for how much spend. And if right now you're primarily organic, let's say you're doing Facebook groups or YouTube organic, or you've got Instagram organic, or whatever it is you're doing, Twitter, I don't know, you don't have a sustainable flow of business, then it's next to impossible to build a sales team around that. Because you can't build a sales team around, massive ups and massive lows and unpredictable top of funnel. You're just going to demotivate them, and over time they're not going to be excited to work for you, and they're going to go work for other opportunities, which, has happened to me before when I didn't have a scalable single channel. Okay, so you start there. Start with a single scalable channel. Instagram shoutouts we're taking to about $600,000, $700,000 a month this year, and we're going to keep about 55% profits, maybe 53% profits at the end of the day. And I've got that full breakdown in another video. You can check it out. So to get that out of the way, that's the very first thing. First is a scalable traffic channel. The second thing that you need is a talent acquisition machine. So if you check out TreyCockrum.com/jobs, I actually have a funnel where people can apply for different roles inside of my company. Okay, this is for sales reps, operations people, any appointment setters, ads people, whatever. Like any role that's available, I just put a button on that page and people can apply. And what I do is two things. First of all, I got my own brand, but not a lot of people have a brand. They don't have a personal brand. They don't have an audience on the internet. If you don't have that, that's totally fine. You can just run ads to this page. Okay, so you're going to want to spend about $50 a day for the specific roles that you're really looking for. The last option is just to go to people who are in your network and ask if they know anybody, and offer a $200 to $500 referral fee for quality talent that you end up retaining. And you'll get some people applying and whatever. You can also post on your personal Facebook. If you have an email list, you can blast it to that email list. And we've currently got, and I'll show you, just about like 300 people who have applied to be sales reps for my company. So we've got a lot of people who have applied. And so we have done a lot of sifting and finding the high quality people in there, and we've placed them into our business. Okay, and I've just let this funnel sort of stack applicants for, about, I'd say like 2 months. It's been really active. Okay, so that's the second thing you need. So first is scalable traffic channel. Second is a sustainable way of bringing in sales talent, because what you'll find is that even if you hire a great salesperson, the sales churn is about a year or a year and a half. And, in the previous iteration of my business, I had gone really deep in key relationships with key salespeople. And that kind of came back to bite me in the butt, because it's like I didn't have people to replace them say they wanted to leave, and they wanted to leave. So they left and they started their own thing and whatever. And actually, it's pretty cool. They've gone on to succeed wildly, which is amazing. I love having an organization where people can come in and be better and succeed. But it did put me in a position where I had to find new talent. And so I didn't really know where that talent would come from. I didn't know how to find it. And so I was kind of cornered into building this process, and it just kind of was born out of desperation. And so it's what I teach my clients now. And it works like cake. You should go visit it. TreyCockrum.com/jobs. We share our mission, vision, values on that front page. And then in the specific roles, we talk about what is required of them and what skill sets we're looking for, etc. So it's a really good way to just attract talent overall, both if you have a brand and if you just are looking to scale quickly. So the third thing that you need, let's get into the nitty-gritty of actually how do you train the sales team, how do you get them up to speed, and how do you actually make them succeed. So the very first thing is you need to make sure that on your sales calls, you have a clean process. You're not changing the way you sell per the prospect, okay? It's really hard to bring sales rep into a business where they have to like, they're having to like jump through hoops on every single call. It should be very clean. And now there's going to be some changes, like, 20, 30% minor changes here, but like 50 to 70% of the conversation should be pretty much like clockwork, like other conversations you've had. And at this point, you should have some recordings of your own closes. Okay. And this is really just going to be the training material that you're going to use to grow your sales team with. So just have them watch the recordings of these closes and have them come back to you, and you want to role play with them and actually pretend to be your prospect and give them the common objections that a prospect would typically give you, and just kind of get that feel as if, they're the right fit. Okay. Now, obviously this is once you've picked the people. Okay. So I'll talk a little bit about how to actually pick and train and find the right people and interview in a sec. But I kind of got a little ahead of myself when I'm talking about how to actually train the team. So I'm going to finish that train of thought, and then I'll go back to how to actually interview and everything. So for training, your best source of training material is recordings of closes. Okay, recordings of closes, they're going to learn more through that than anything else, because they're going to get to understand your product, understand your services, everything like that. Another thing you can have them do is actually speak with, top favorite customers of yours, and just go back and forth with them, like what were your favorite benefits of the product, why did it work so well for you, what did you enjoy, etc. The final thing that you're going to want to do is have a daily or bi-daily sales team meeting. Now, in my company, I have a sales team leader, so I don't have to be on this meeting. So I'm able to do other things like just grow my brand, make content, focus on our top of funnel, stuff like this, so that whole meeting is ran. But if you're sub $200,000 a month, you can just run your own sales team and do it yourself. Okay. And, on the sales team meeting, what you're going to do is you're just going to pull up a call from the past 24 hours or 48 hours and just review it. Just a random call and just review it. And you want to give 2 to 3 very clear pieces of feedback, things that they can adjust, because there's always going to be room to improve. And you need to be very generous with your feedback. Just a lot of constructive criticism, but also take that time to reward them if they've done a good job. So if they've done a good job on a specific thing, make sure that they feel rewarded, called out, and everything. And then, that's kind of how you train them. So sales call recordings, role play, and bi-daily or daily sales team meetings. Okay. Let me just take a step backwards and talk about interviewing. So if you have more than 10 people applying for your salesperson role every single week, you can consider doing group interviews where you invite the applicants to just a group Zoom once a week. Say it's on a Monday at a recurring time, and you just hop on there, and you're always looking for new talent and maybe even better talent, people to replace the people that you currently have if you like them more. You just really have to do what's best for the business at the end of the day. Okay. And, but if you have less than 10, you can just do single interviews, and it doesn't take very long. And a good interview, you're not just asking them basic questions like, so why do you want this role? And, tell me a bit about yourself and what are your goals in 5 years? Like, those are like, when I hear that people are interviewing like that, I just get like, I get like a little offended. It's like such basic questions. The questions you want to ask are questions that reflect both their results. So what have their results been in the past, if they have any? And you want to ask, what are their sources? So who have they learned from? What books have they read? What mentors have they learned through? Anything like that. So what are your favorite books, courses, programs, masterminds? Have you been anything like that? Who have you learned sales from? Who have been your sales mentors? Another thing you want to ask is, like, in the past, what have your results been? What companies have you worked for? What were the results that you produced? You want to make sure that the industry that they've sold in before somewhat lines up with your industry. And if they've never sold before, then you can train that person. You just need to really make sure that they're hungry and ready to actually grow. So I believe in my company that we hire for skills second and character and hunger first, especially for sales. You can train sales into just about anybody who's legitimately hungry to win. Like, one of our best performers in our company right now, they're making about $7,000 to $10,000 a month in commissions. They just had their first baby, and that's a huge motivator for them. Like, they want to make at least $100,000 a year. And so when they came in, they're like, hey, like, my wife is due like 2 months from now. Like, I need to figure this out. And it's like, sweet. Like, that's a lot of hunger, and we can work with that. So you want signs that they're hungry. You don't want a very passive person. You want somebody who's like seeing this as like extra side money. You want somebody who's all in with your business and is willing to make that commitment, which is, again, why you need a scalable, predictable traffic channel. Otherwise, you can't get somebody to make that commitment, because it's going to be ups and downs. They're going to see that, and they're going to want out like by week 2. So they need to be willing to make that full in all commitment. No other financial vehicles. They're all in with you. Okay. And you need to see that they're very, very hungry financially, primarily, because you want financially hungry salespeople. We don't need to beat around the bush and pretend that sales really is much more than a really great financial vehicle. I mean, you want them to care about your customers. You want them to care about their end results. Absolutely. And if you see that those things are being sacrificed, then you need to let them off the team very quickly. But unfortunately, the reality is, not unfortunately, the reality is people want to make a great amount of money. Okay. So that's that. You need to respect that that's why they're here, treat them as such, and make sure that your opportunity can provide that for them. Okay. So we've talked about when to bring them on. Make sure you have a scalable traffic channel, something that's getting at least 3 to 6 quality closable meetings every single day. We talked about how to hire and bring them in and train them. We talked about how to interview and what questions you should ask. The next thing I want to talk about is culture. Okay, so I want to talk about how do you actually build a high-performing culture. And this one's quite simple. So the first thing is you want to encourage when they've done a good job and speak exactly what good they did. Salespeople are, I've found, motivated both by money and by status amongst the rest of the team. So if you have more than 2 or 3 people on the sales team, it can be really helpful to just be like, hey, I just want to shout out this person for this reason. Like, they did that really well on this call, and that sets a tone for the rest of the team. The rest of the team, you guys really should meet this standard, because honestly, if you can meet that standard, then we're going to win. Right? And just kind of let people ride that high of having done well. But you also, if they're not doing well, want to use shame. Like, that's not good. That doesn't meet our standard. So I want you, as a company owner or as a sales team leader, to really define what your standard is and hold people to it very actively. And if they continue to not meet it over time, be very quick to let people go. Because especially if you have a lot of applicants for your sales role, then you really shouldn't have a scarcity mindset in regards to sales. Like, you can bring people in. This is why I think it's really important to have an applications page, have people constantly applying, because then you're not afraid to let somebody go whose performance has dropped. And especially once they start to make excuses like, oh, it's the leads, or I just don't feel like I'm being fed here. When you know that you're doing everything you can for them, you just got to let them go. Because the right people will blame the leads, but then they'll make suggestions of like, hey, what if we said this on this page and maybe that could help the lead quality. That's a winner. That's somebody who's on the floor and can help you make decisions about the business, because your salespeople are going to be your R&D department. And if they're just complaining all the time and not giving you feedback, like, you're not going to be able to make decisions. So if somebody's having an issue with a lead or something that's coming up on sales calls a lot, we've had people on our team say, hey, can we put this testimonial towards the top of this page instead of this one? Because, our prospects that close, they tell us that this testimonial really helped them. And it's like, yeah, sure, I'll go into ClickFunnels and just move the thing. So hopefully this all makes sense. This is how to build your team. A couple key numbers that you want to look at in order to get to like $300,000 a month or more. You want to have at least a $3,500 product. Okay, you want to be booking at least 6 closable meetings every single day, minimum every single day. Probably more like 10 to 12 if you want to do 300,000. You want to have 1 closer on the team for every 5 closable meetings booked onto the calendar every day. So 1 sales team member for every 5. More than 5, like 6 hours a day of selling over the course of even just like 6 months, somebody's going to burn out. Okay, so 5 closable meetings every single day. This is why scalable traffic channels is very important, something that's very consistent for you. Okay, then you can make that judgment. And last but not least, payout and pay structure. So we like to pay our salespeople 10% of total cash collected. So they get 10% of cash collected, right? And if they get a pay in full, like a full pay, we'll tend to give them a little extra just as a bonus, like say another 2 or 3% on top. And on top of that, if they have, say, a $10,000 or $20,000 day, sometimes we'll just kind of add a little bit of fuel to the fire and get them really hooked on like that feeling of that win. Or let's say they have a $50,000 week, you know what I mean? We'll give them a little bit of a bonus. And so you want to kind of use bonuses as a positive incentive, and honestly just like shame as a negative incentive, and they will actively watch other members leave the sales team that aren't performing well. And this might sound intense, but what this is going to breed over time is just this relentless culture of high-performing salespeople in your company that will continue to perform for you over the long term. And you've created really an environment where people who are motivated to really succeed and who actually want the success that they came in telling you that they wanted will be able to achieve it within. So hopefully this helps you build your sales team. If you have any questions, just let me know. Maybe I can bring on my head of sales into my channel and like do an interview with him or something like that. Maybe that could be helpful. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. And again, if you want to learn how to use Instagram shoutouts to get these meetings, just check this video here. It's quite helpful. We actually work with people to install this system into their business all the time. And look, if you want my one-to-one direct support in building your sales team, check out any links in the description or the pinned comment, and you can just schedule a consult right into our company calendar, right into my calendar, and I'll speak with you and see if I can't help you get to $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a month or maybe more by building your sales teams and establishing a scalable traffic channel. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.